Hello from the Crystal Coast. This is Pastor Kevin, encouraging you to run with endurance the race that is set before you. The coast is not so crystal today. Leviticus is one of those places in the Bible where your read through the Bible in a year plan can get derailed pretty quickly. And there's just a lot of blood and guts in this book, but there's a reason for that, and it's actually highlighted in the opening lines of Leviticus. Here's how it starts. The Lord called Moses and spoke to him from the tent of meeting, saying, "Speak to the people of Israel and say to them, when any one of you brings an offering to the Lord, you shall bring your offering of livestock from the herd or from the flock." The key, really, is this little word "from" in verse 1. It says that God spoke to Moses from the tent of meeting. If you look at the book of Exodus and you look at the way it ends, Moses was at the tent of meeting, and he couldn't even get into the tent of meeting because of the glory of God. This structure that had been built so the people of God could dwell together was now off limits because God's people had actually broken the covenant that God made with them. And so Leviticus tells us what God did to provide a way for his people to live in his presence, and sacrifices were actually a big part of God's solution. And all of those sacrifices that you can read about in the book of Leviticus, those were all pointing to the sacrifice of Jesus that would ultimately make it possible for us to live the life that God created us for us to live in the presence of a holy God and enjoy him forever. So here's my prayer for us today. As I was thinking about that, it's that we'd find ways, because when you read about these offerings, some of the offerings were the people's way of saying thank you to God. And then some of the offerings were the people's way of saying, God, I'm sorry. And so my prayer for us today is that we'd find ways to consistently say thank you to God. Thank you for your faithfulness to us. Thank you for your generosity to us. Thank you for your grace and your mercy in our lives. Let's find a way to consistently communicate gratitude to God. And then that we'd also find ways to express our sorrow over our own sinfulness, so that there would be no distance between us and God in our relationship. We really can enjoy the journey that God has us on in these days. And I so look forward to gathering with you to worship our great God this coming Sunday. I hope to see you then.